Hello and welcome to Forever Cricket on Forever Sports as we look at day one wrap on a very interesting, an interesting test match where Sri Lanka is firmly in the driving seat. They closed the day on 344-6. It's effectively 4-7, however, because Dhananjaya de Silva did retire her, which was a big boost for South Africa itself. But before I even start looking at the game, I'm getting quite bored with, and I understand where it comes from, where it stems from, and I understand that's been a very stressful year, and I think everybody's in quite a negative mindset, negative sort of space at the moment, which is fair enough. But as a result, I think a lot, especially watching a lot of T20 cricket, a lot of ODI cricket, is we've lost any sort of long-term look, and we're so reactionary at the moment. So we'll sit there and people are just absolutely losing their minds at how terrible the approaches are, how useless our bowling lineup is, how terrible the Cock is as a captain, how we are hopeless, there's no direction, there's no hope, absolute train smash. After one day of Test cricket, we are a fifth of the way through the match. Could you imagine watching what's the equivalent of about 16, 17 minutes of a rugby match and then making a statement, a call on the entire team based on that? You cannot do it. So I'm bored of this whole sort of day one when you have a bad day, and we did, and South Africa did have a bad day. Sri Lanka are well deservedly on top. And I'm not going to make excuses for the players' performances, but we can't just sit there throwing the baby out with the bathwater after a fifth of the test match. We haven't played a test in almost sort of 8 months. So it is always going to be a day where players were potentially going to struggle, and we're hit with a lot of injuries. So what I would like more of is to take everything and look at the context, okay? And that's what we're going to try and do. We're going to break down the day within the context of the series. Okay, so South Africa lost the toss, Sri Lanka won the toss and decided to bat. And we opened up with debutant Lutus Sapamla and Lungi Ngidi, and they didn't bowl particularly well up front. Ngidi was much better, but Sapamla, you could see, it was very obvious nerves. On debut, 22 years old, and he just couldn't hit his lengths. You could see he was very sporadic, he was very inconsistent. He bowled 1 to 2 good balls every over. He had some fantastic deliveries. In his first over, I think it was the 4th or 5th ball, he bowled an absolute corker, which deserved a wicket. But he missed his length, and he just couldn't get into a good rhythm. And you could see he was struggling. He was, bowling 2 decent balls and then bowling 3 bad balls. And he got punished. And the Sri Lankans came out and were very positive. And credit to them, because they came out and they played very positively. I mean, you look at the fall of wickets here. I'm trying to find where it is. Although you look at the openers, and Karunaratne made 22 runs off 20 balls. And Kusal Perry made 16 of 29. So, Karunaratne was going at a strike rate of 110. So he came out and was very aggressive. And I think as the captain, he sort of sat there and thought, Ngidi's coming back from a long-term injury. He hasn't played Test cricket in a long time. So Pamela is on debut. I'm going to go after these players. And they did. Same as when Mulder came into the attack. They tried to sort of go after him very quickly and tried to hit him out of the attack. So the Sri Lankans batted very, very well. Dinesh Chandimal was the rock. I mean, 85 off 161 deliveries. That is a proper hard graph. But after the first half an hour where Sri Lanka outplayed South Africa, a couple of quick wickets, and suddenly they were for 3. And then Dhananjaya de Silva came in and looked brilliant. He batted very well, was very positive, hit 11 fours, hit a 6, and then retired hurt, which is very unfortunate for him. Dickwella came in and made 49 of 86, also a nice sort of well-crafted innings. But, you look at it, and I think that Sapamla bowled pretty poorly up front. Ngidi was better, but not great. Nokia came on and was chalk and cheese, but Nokia is the most informed bowler at the moment. And my biggest thing is I'm so impressed with Vian Mulder, because I'm a huge Vian Mulder fan, and it was a very big risk playing him because of the inexperience in the side. And he ended up picking up 3 wickets today, and picked up some important wickets. And what was very interesting was that when he came on to bowl, you could see they're saying, right, he's on debut. South Africa have got 4 seamers. If we hit him out the attack, Lutus Pamla's bowling badly, they're going to have to panic. And they went after Vian Mulder, and he kept plugging away, and he got a wicket in his first over. And his confidence just rose. And he bowled and ended up bowling 18 overs, just 1 off the Moses Maharaj, 3 wickets for 68 runs, and an economy of 3.78. All the economies were fairly high. Nokia and Ngidi were sort of sitting in the low 3s, but Maharaj 3.8, Vian Mulder 3.7, and then Lutus Pamla ended up with a very poor economy of 4.86. But it's a test match. You know, we're looking at several sessions every day, and you've got to look things session by session by session, day by day by day. This test will ebb and flow because we had better sessions. Lutus Apamla bowled pretty poorly up front. He did. You can't deny it. But towards the end of the day, he bowled another spell and he looked a lot better and he got a very deserved wicket. And the nice thing is you are seeing people that are sitting there saying you've got to be patient. And I think what we're seeing here is, I mean, you look at this attack, just by the way, Anurag Nokia is playing his seventh test match. Lungi Ngidi is playing his sixth test match. Vian Mulder is playing his second test match. Lutus Apamla is playing his first test match. There are less than 12 test caps. Before today, there were less than 12 test caps across our 4 seamers. That's an average of 3 tests per seamer. So what we are seeing is much more of a sort of a demonstration of the lack of progression that we've seen in the last 3-4 years, where we should have been going through a rebuilding phase. We saw Morne Morkel coming to the end of his career. We saw Vernon Philander coming to the end of his career. We saw Dale Steyn coming to the end of his career. But there wasn't much of a handover. And then what did happen is the bowlers that we did start bringing through, in the likes of, I mean, Kyle Abbott obviously went overseas, but then you got to look at Dane Patterson and Dwayne Olivier, and then they left. So what's happened is that the long-term future that we saw for South Africa left, and that's why we've been kind of stuck without bowlers in that middle ground. And you've got a Rabada and Ngidi, and I mean, you look at Rabada and Ngidi, Lutus Apamla, Vian Mulder, they're all in the same sort of in between 4 years, but they're still in their really early 20s. Rabada's only sitting here 25 years old, and Nokia bloomed quite late. But we haven't had that sort of progression where we had a handover period. And as a result, we've now got a bowling attack with a combined amount of 11 tests trying to establish themselves on the test series, which is a massive ask. It is very different where, as a bowler, Vernon Philander came into a side with Dale Steyn and Morne Morkel at their peaks. You look at Kyle Abbott, who made his debut, and you had Vernon Philander around, one of the best bowlers in the world at the stage, Morne Morkel, Dale Steyn. You coming into that attack, it is so much easier than Lutus Apamla, who comes into attack with Lungi Ngidi back after a long-term injury, Anurag Nokia just getting to grips with Test cricket, and Vian Mulder, who's played 1 test. You know, so I'm not going to make excuses. They weren't good enough, but you cannot sit there and discredit somebody's entire career based on 1 day. There were good moments. There were good moments there. There were some good deliveries. They weren't consistent enough. I think the plans were probably wrong, and we're going to have a major rethink. Sri Lanka are essentially for 7, which means we need to go out tomorrow and we need to skittle them relatively early. We need to try and take those final 3 wickets, really, unless Silva's going to recover overnight. But he didn't look good. I mean, he was carried up the stairs. And then we need to go and bat well, because you cannot really judge a test until you've seen both sides bat. And I think there is something in the pitch, and I think that's probably the frustration, is that, you know, we didn't have the ability to be able to sort of get something out of the pitch and be able to sort of capitalize on that. We didn't have enough, we didn't really get the slips into the game. And, you know, there will be questions about Quinton de Kock and the way he sort of used the bowlers, maybe some of the plans were wrong and stuff like that. But so tomorrow is a big day. Day 2 is always sort of big day. Day 2, you kind of start seeing where it's going to swing, because chances are we will bat tomorrow. In which case, you know, how well do we bat? What is the plan? Does Mark come out and be the aggressor? What is going to happen? You know, their current run rate's 4 runs and over, which is not great. We need to get that closer to 3. But, you know, you've got to, I'm just saying, you've got to, when you look at a test match, you've got to look at it in sessions, and you've got to look at it in days, and you've got to look at long term. Because all you have to do is look back last week, Australia versus India, where India were doing relatively well, and they got bowled up at 36. And they got absolutely hammered. You know, things change very, very quickly in a test match. And if you sit there discrediting somebody's entire career based on 1 day, it's just a sign that you're not willing to engage with the format that is test match cricket. You know, people asking, why is Lutus Apamla there? Because he had a bad T20 series. It is a whole different game. You cannot judge a T20 series and then say you shouldn't be playing in the test. It's ludicrous. If you're going to start doing that, you just don't know enough about cricket. Lutus Apamla was the leading wicket taker for seam bowlers in the last 4-day franchise series at the beginning of the year. He has played just 1 4-day series game because he was with the Proteas for that England series this year, and he's had a couple of injuries. So I agree, and the plan was not to play him initially. Glenton Steelman was supposed to play today, but he picked up a niggle. Remembering that Khisar Rabada is also injured. So we've probably got 2 bowlers who, you know, in theory, it should have been Rabada and Ngidi Nokia, the Glenton Stearman in the wings, and then Lucas Apamla. So I think in many ways, Apamla was brought into the squad to have to start sort of developing, and because we know he's a long-term potential bowler. We've seen the talent at younger levels. And yes, he struggled to make the step up to test match cricket, but some players do. Some players can make the jump quite quickly. Other players, it takes a bit longer. But you cannot discredit a 22-year-old bowler after one day and say he's never going to be good enough, because you don't know that. Yes, he was not good enough today. He still gets another chance in the second innings. And then we judge. We judge at the end of the test match. You cannot make judgments this early. We are a fifth of the way through. We go and put in a very big batting performance, we call it a draw or something like that, the game can change very quickly. So at the moment, Sri Lanka are firmly on top. Very, very impressive 50s from Chandimal and De Silva, and a very good 49 by De Quella. So Dustin Shanaka is currently there on 25 or 50, and he is there with Kasun Vijita, who's coming on 7 or 27. So they really had to slug it out towards the end of the day, where our bowlers did look a bit better. So tomorrow, the important thing is to start well, pick up the wickets, and then South Africa need to go and try and start batting deep. And if there was ever time for Aiden Markham to chip in with a lot of runs, now is the time. But let me know what you think is happening in the comments below. Please do subscribe to the channel, smash like on the video as well. We'll be back tomorrow with another day 2 wrap up, where hopefully we're starting to get a better picture of how the test will play out. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Stephen, and I will chat to you soon.